Conquer Cam. My name is Cindy Lovelace, and I'm a survivor of two different types of cancer: breast cancer, diagnosed in 2005, and neuroendocrine or NET cancer, diagnosed in 2011. This is my cancer journey. In 2005, my gynecologist felt a suspicious lump when she was doing a routine yearly exam. She sent me for a diagnostic mammogram instead of just the screen. And I was diagnosed with estrogen-positive breast cancer. Also, they found cancer in my sentinel lymph node under my arm, and I ended up having a lumpectomy and an auxiliary dissection to remove several layers of lymph nodes. Fortunately, there was no further involvement found in the lymph nodes except for the sentinel node, so I chose to have a lumpectomy and chose to have follow-up chemotherapy and radiation just to be extra sure that the cancer did not return. In 2011, 6 years out from my breast cancer diagnosis, I was feeling great and had no symptoms of any disease. Then I broke a bone in my foot, and it set off a series of events that I could now describe as providential. I was taking a maintenance drug for breast cancer called tamoxifen, and they now believe it was the perfect storm. Between the broken bone and the tamoxifen, I developed blood clots in my leg and in my lung. And when I was diagnosed in the ER, the technician who did the lung scan noted that they saw a small shadow in the lower quadrant of the scan. I didn't know anything about this until I followed up with my oncologist a month or so later. And again, thinking probably nothing was going to come of this, had several scans, they were all clear, but I ultimately had an endoscopic ultrasound, and that's when I was told that I had a neuroendocrine tumor, or NET tumor, but not to worry, they're almost always benign. Well, it was not. And so my cancer journey started all over again, but this time with a more mysterious and complicated cancer. I had a great oncologist, and she had a protocol for breast cancer, but not for neuroendocrine or NET cancer. She referred me to a surgeon. He did a great job, had to do exploratory surgery to even find the tumor in the tip of my pancreas. Then I was told I was cancer-free. So neuroendocrine cancer is not like the typical pancreatic cancer. I was given a clean bill of health. And I was watching CNN about 6 months later and learned that Steve Jobs had died, and learned that he had neuroendocrine cancer, that it began in his pancreas and went to his liver. Well, I was floored. So I Googled neuroendocrine again, and this time I discovered that there was a specialist in my city just a mile and a half from my oncologist. And the irony is that this my oncologist actually was social friends with this specialist, but had no idea that there was a neuroendocrine specialist right across the street. That's when I began to realize that there was a lack of education awareness, even in the medical community, about NET cancer. So my experience in finding a NET specialist after 6 months of diagnosis is not typical. I found out that the average patient goes 5 or 6 years. Even those who have symptoms go 5 or 6 years without being properly diagnosed. It's because it mimics other diseases that are more benign, like IBS or Crohn's disease. In my case, I had no symptoms, so patients who are often discovered incidentally, like me, are often told it's benign, or they have surgery and they're told that they're cancer-free. Well, I was not cancer-free. Turns out, in finding the specialist, that I also found he had started a new clinical trial in the U.S. for a new scan, the gallium-68, which is better at detecting NET tumors. I had had an MRI on my liver, and it showed that it was clear. I had the gallium-68 scan, and 2 tumors lit up. It completely changed my treatment path. I am now able to manage this cancer like a chronic disease because I was diagnosed early and because I found a NET cancer specialist. It also changed my life and my career path. I ended up co-founding a nonprofit organization with my NET cancer specialist in order to better educate providers about neuroendocrine cancer, and to also empower patients and advocate for patients to have better communication with their doctors and to connect them with a NET specialist. I have learned that it's really important to have community when you're dealing with cancer. It's important to involve your caregivers. It's important to explain to family and friends, and it's important to have really good trust and communication with your physician. If you get a cancer diagnosis, you need to ask a lot of questions. If you're taking a treatment and you're having quality of life issues, you need to talk to your doctor about it and ask lots of questions. If you don't feel like you're getting good answers, or you don't feel like you have a good level of trust with your doctor, you have to remember that it's your life and you can't find another doctor. And so that was a real important lesson for me in going through the cancer journey. Navigating cancer is difficult. You're constantly juggling appointments and multiple doctors and trying to figure out insurance and fighting denied claims. You fight fatigue and depression and trying to explain everything to your family and friends. You have side effects from treatments that impact other parts of your body and really mess with your quality of life. So it's a very complicated thing to go through cancer. My husband and I are sailors, and there is a saying that says you cannot direct the wind, but you can adjust your sails. And I really think that's a really good analogy for fighting cancer. When you adjust the sails, you have to be educated, you have to be prepared, you have to be as strong as possible. And it's really, really helpful if you have a good partner beside you at the helm. So I think that for me, in navigating this journey, I think about how I can be strong and confident and move forward. And I even wear this little bracelet here which says, I refuse to sink. Thanks for watching. I hope you'll consider sharing your story with ConquerCam as well. Let's conquer cancer together.